welcome back to my channel, Comic Cat Creations, where I like to post sewing videos as well as beauty and makeup tutorials. So today I have another sewing video and I'm going to be showing you how to make this adorable two-piece skater dress where you're going to be learning how to do a half circle skirt and a matching crop top. So this is going to be a pretty easy tutorial and you're going to have an awesome outfit once you're done. But before we get into it, I'd love to say thank you so much because like 5 minutes ago I saw that I had reached 500 subscribers here on YouTube and that is just so awesome. So thank you so much for the support. And if you haven't already, I'd love it if you could subscribe and join my channel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the sewing tutorial. For this project, I used about 1.5 yards of a smooth feeling stretchy knit fabric, and you'll also need thick elastic for the waistband. We're going to start by creating the half circle skirt, so begin by taking your waist measurement where you want the skirt to sit, and mine's about 33 inches. Divide your measurement by 3.14 and the number you get is what we'll need to create the skirt. Mine's 10.5 inches. Fold your fabric in half with the right sides facing together, smoothing it out as you go. Now I've zoomed in closer to the corner, so that's the edge that was folded, and this is the top edge where the fabric is doubled. Lay your tape measure at the corner and measure the number you calculated a few moments ago and make a mark on the fabric. Again, mine was 10.5. Then swivel the tape measure from the corner and continue measuring and marking that number so that as you go, you're creating a quarter circle shape with the marks. I'm using permanent markers so you can see it, but I'd suggest using chalk for this. Now draw a new circle in closer to the corner, about a ½ inch in from the one you just measured, in order to create your seam allowance, and then cut along this new line to create the skirt's waist. I've zoomed back out here, and now you need to decide on your desired skirt length. I chose 19.5 inches, and then add an inch to that number, so 20.5 inches for me, and then begin measuring starting from the curve you just cut, and make a mark at that number, and then begin moving the tape measure all the way around the curve, making marks as you go to create a new, larger quarter circle shape, which will be the bottom of your skirt. That extra inch we added is for the hem and seam allowance. Connect the marks into a curved line and then cut along that line to create the bottom edge of the skirt. When you unfold the fabric, you'll now have a giant half circle shape. Fold your skirt in half with the right sides facing. Now I like to show in my videos if I decide to alter something in the project so you know how to make changes if you want to too. So here I decided to shorten the skirt by 2.25 inches, so I just measured up from the bottom curve and then cut along the new line to shorten it. Obviously you can skip this step if you're happy with your length. Next, pin the skirt together along the straight edge and then sew to join it together using a ½ inch seam allowance and always backstitching whenever you sew. Since we're using stretch fabric, you'll need to use a ballpoint needle and sew with either a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch. And this will allow your garment to be stretched without breaking the seams, whereas if you just use a regular straight stitch, the seams will break when stretched. And you can see here how that stretch stitch allows the seam to be stretched. Wrap your elastic around your waist, stretching it slightly as you do this, and then pin it into place to make sure it fits snugly yet comfortably. When you take the band off, you'll just want to trim off that excess elastic, leaving about a ½ inch extra on each side for seam allowance, and then pin the pieces back together and stitch back and forth with that ½ inch seam allowance, sewing several times to secure the waistband. Open up the seam allowance by pushing each of those little flaps down so that they lay flat against the elastic, then sew a straight line of stitches on each side of the seam to keep them laying flat, and you can see those stitches here. Now we need to divide the waistband into 4 equal sections to mark the center front, back, and sides of the waist, and this seam here will represent the center back. So to find the front, just bring the seam all the way to one side, so now the opposite side here will be the center front of the waist, so mark this with a pin. Next, bring the center front pin and the center back seam lined up together in the middle, and now the two edges of the band will be the exact sides of the waist, so mark them with pins too, and you'll now have your center front, center back, and sides spaced equally. Do the same thing with the skirt's waist by using the seam as the center back, rotating the skirt and using the side opposite the seam as the center front, and then bringing the front and back together in the middle to mark the sides. With the correct neat side of your waistband facing right side out and the skirt turned inside out, line up the center back seams together by bringing the band inside of the skirt so that the correct sides of the seams are facing together and pin them into place. Again, bring the waistband inside of the skirt and line up the pins that mark the center fronts together and pin them in place, and then match up and pin the sides together too. Then you'll want to pin in smaller increments all around the waist to make it easier to sew, and if your waistband and skirt waist wind up being slightly different sizes, don't panic. Mine do match up almost exactly, but if yours don't, you would just need to stretch them out evenly and pin the smaller increments while they're stretched, and this will ensure that everything is just spaced evenly. Sew along the waist to attach the pieces together using your stretch or zigzag stitch, and if your waistband and skirt aren't the same size like I mentioned earlier, you would just stretch them evenly as you sew to prevent any puckers, and now your waistband is attached. We need to hem the skirt, so lay it inside out and fold the bottom raw edge over toward the wrong side of the fabric 1/4 inch, then fold it again another 1/4 inch and pin it into place. Continue double folding and pinning the hem, stopping when you have several inches pinned. Begin sewing the hem in place, and for this I chose a cool decorative stretch stitch for a nice detailing. Once you finish sewing the pinned area, you'll just want to begin double folding the hem a little at a time and sewing as you go. Folding as you sew will save you time in the long run because pinning the entire hem would take quite a long time. Here you can see that decorative stitch, and now the skirt portion is all done. To make the crop top, grab a well-fitting tank top and fold the bottom up to the length that you want your top to be, making sure to leave about a 1/2 inch extra at the bottom for hem allowance. Then fold the edges in and fold the top in half. Now fold a portion of your fabric over, making sure the stretch of the fabric runs in the direction I have the arrows going, and make sure the stripes are lined up evenly if you're working with striped fabric. Lay your tank top onto the fabric so that the folds of both line up and pin it into place. Cut around your top, and you can make your neckline as low or as high as you want, but make sure to leave at least a 1/2 inch extra on all sides for hems and seams. Then I actually wound up cutting about 1 inch extra on the sides because I wanted the crop top to be a little looser, but you can cut it only with a 1/2 inch extra if you don't want it to be as loose. Then cut right along the bottom of your tank top since we already added that extra 1/2 inch earlier when we folded it up. Now that the front of the crop top is cut out, use this piece to cut out an identical back piece, and I did raise the neckline for the back some. Lay your two pieces together with the right sides facing together and pin and sew along the sides and shoulders using the same stretch or zigzag stitch you used before. Then try on the top to make sure it fits and make any adjustments if necessary. I decided to shorten mine a bit. To hem the neckline, turn the top inside out and fold the raw edge of the fabric over 1/4 inch once, then again, and pin it into place, just like we did for the skirt. Continue folding and pinning around both sides of the neckline, and once the entire thing is pinned, stitch it into place using a stretch or a zigzag stitch. I used the same decorative stretch stitch as I did on the skirt. Hem the armholes exactly the same way by double folding the hem and sewing it into place, and then repeat by sewing a double folded hem on the bottom edge of the top, and you're all done with this awesome outfit, so wear it proudly. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and if you make this or any of my outfits, please use the hashtag CommyCatCreations on Instagram because I would love to see what you're making. Alright, I hope y'all have a fantastic day, and I'll see y'all in a video soon. Bye! Hair in my mouth. What's up? Oh, jeez, that scared me. It's just a squirrel. Whew, bugs. Ready? Dang it.